Hi, Testers. Today, with me, you will do Lesson 10 Building a Nation with Words and Ideas. What have we already learned? Yesterday, in your read aloud, you heard about Benjamin Franklin, who is one of the founding fathers. I'm going to ask you some questions to see how much you learned about Benjamin Franklin. First question. What kinds of things did Franklin include in his Poor Richard's Almanac? Pause and respond. He had stories and poems as well as puzzles, jokes, lots of advice, and many wise sayings. Second question. How would you describe Benjamin Franklin? Pause and respond. Well, I remember Benjamin Franklin being very wise. He was an inventor, writer, a founding father, and a representative to our colonies. Can you name some things that Benjamin Franklin invented? Pause and respond. Well, we know that he invented many things, such as the rocking chair with the fan, bifocal, wooden swimming flippers, Franklin stove, and a lightning rod. Third question. How do you know that Benjamin Franklin was well liked and admired? Pause and talk. We learned that he had one of the biggest funeral in Philadelphia. People rang bells and flags flew at half mast to show respect. Last question. Name one saying that Franklin used to say. Okay, let's do this together. Never leave until tomorrow what you can do today. One more time. Never leave until tomorrow what you can do today. In today's read aloud, you will learn more about one of the founding fathers, Thomas Jefferson. Remember, Benjamin Franklin was with Washington at important meetings in Philadelphia, and that Thomas Jefferson was the author of the Declaration of Independence. In today's read aloud, you will learn more about Thomas Jefferson and his home, Monticello. Jefferson is called the father of American architecture. Say the word architecture. Let's say it 2 more times, okay? Architecture. One more time. Architecture. Good job. Do you know what architecture means? Architecture is a design and construction of the buildings. If you look out your window, you will see many buildings with different styles of architecture. Do many of the buildings look alike or different in your neighborhood? Go ahead and pause the video and look out the window. Check out if the buildings look similar or different. Pause and watch. Okay, so what do you guys think? Were the buildings around your town similar or different? Mine look very similar. They all look like brick apartment buildings. So, Thomas Jefferson loved architecture so much that he built his own house called Monticello, and he worked on the design of Washington, D.C. Okay, I think you guys are almost ready to listen to the story. Let's first make sure we're sitting somewhere quiet so we can focus on the story. Second, make sure you're sitting up straight, just like how you would do it in school. Okay? So, for today's read aloud, listen carefully to find out about Thomas Jefferson's contribution. We know that Thomas Jefferson was an author of the Declaration of Independence. He is also remembered for other reasons too. So, it is your job to find out what are his other contributions. Are you ready? Okay, let's get started.
Benjamin Franklin enjoyed the company of another patriot, Thomas Jefferson from Virginia. Jefferson was often the youngest person in the room when the founders met in Philadelphia, whereas Franklin was often the oldest. Like George Washington, Thomas Jefferson was always ready to serve his country. But the place he most liked to be was at home with his family. What saying did you learn that Jefferson might have used in talking about his home? Well, he once said, "There's no place like home." This is a picture of Jefferson's home, his favorite place to spend time. When Thomas Jefferson was a young lawyer, he started building a house close to the farm where he grew up in Virginia. Built on a hill, he named it Monticello, which means little mountain in Italian. He worked on it for many years, before, during, and after the war. This image shows present-day Monticello. Jefferson traveled in Europe and brought back many ideas from France and Italy. Because of Monticello and some other buildings he designed, Jefferson is called the father of American architecture. Architecture refers to the design of buildings or the way that buildings look. In fact, Jefferson was one of the people who worked on the design of Washington, D.C., our nation's capital. Like Benjamin Franklin, Thomas Jefferson liked to invent things. For his house, he invented a pulley system that opens doors and a mechanical clock that kept track of the days of the week. He also invented a dumbwaiter, a shelf that could be piled high with food dishes raised from the kitchen downstairs up to the dining room, then lowered back down with empty dishes when the meal was over. Thomas Jefferson was one of the most important writers in the colonies. Remember, he was the author of the Declaration of Independence. Because he wrote so many important papers and letters, he wanted to be able to make copies of them for himself. So, Jefferson bought a copy machine from his friend Charles Willson Peale. It was one of the first copy machines ever made. As Jefferson wrote at his desk, a second pen was automatically writing the same thing beside him. Take a look at this picture. Jefferson could write a letter and hand you a second copy right away without even going to a copy machine. This is a picture of a modern-day version of Jefferson's invention, and his would not have used writing tools like the pencils in this image. So, he could continue his work away from home. Thomas Jefferson invented a lap desk that he could carry with him on horseback that could hold all of his paperwork and office tools. This is similar to carrying a backpack or using a laptop computer. After the Constitutional Convention and the election of George Washington as the country's first president, Thomas Jefferson returned to Virginia to work on Monticello. When he was not at Monticello, often he was off representing his country, sharing his ideas both in America and in Europe. George Washington served as President of the United States for 8 years. When he retired to Mount Vernon, another one of the founding fathers named John Adams took his place, becoming America's second president. Thomas Jefferson became John Adams' vice president. A vice president is someone who is second in command to the president. 4 years later, Thomas Jefferson became our nation's third president. In the 8 years that he was president, he did many things to help the young nation grow. One of the things that Thomas Jefferson believed in most was public education. He realized how fortunate he had been, having the chance to attend excellent schools all his life. But he knew that not everybody could afford to do so. Perhaps Jefferson's greatest project was planning for a public college in his state of Virginia. A public school is one that is funded or paid for with the people's tax money. A college or university is a place to continue studying after high school. He designed the buildings, chose the subjects to be taught, and raised money to build the University of Virginia. The university was built on a friend's farm just down the hill from Monticello so that Jefferson could watch it being built. Do you notice anything similar about this building and Monticello? Thomas Jefferson died on the afternoon of July 4, 1826, just hours before the death of his friend, John Adams. The second and third presidents of the United States of America died on the 50th anniversary of independence. An anniversary is celebrated every year, like your birthday. Your birthday is the anniversary of your birth. So, Jefferson died 50 years to the day after the signing of the Declaration of Independence. Like George Washington and Benjamin Franklin, Thomas Jefferson is remembered in many ways today. Some of our nickels or 5-cent coins have a picture of Jefferson on one side of them, and a picture of a domed building on the other. Dome building is one with the curved top like many sports arenas. Can you guess what that building is? Right, it's his beloved Monticello.
Wow, you guys did such a good job listening to the story. Now let's take a little bit of a stretch break. Go ahead and stand up. Okay, extend your arms. That feels good. Okay, let's stretch up. Okay. And then stretch your shoulders. That feels good, right? Okay. Now, after a little bit of stretch, have a seat. And we're going to do check for understanding. You're going to show me thumbs up or thumbs down, okay? Did Thomas Jefferson help design Washington, D.C. and his house Monticello? The answer is thumbs up. Did Thomas Jefferson lead the Continental Army? The answer is thumbs down. Thomas Jefferson found the University of Virginia. The answer is thumbs up. Yes. Thomas Jefferson served as a president of the United States. The answer is thumbs up. Yes. If you were able to answer all of my thumbs up and thumbs down questions, that means you were listening and learning. Good job! If you missed a lot of the questions, it's okay. When you have time later, just listen to the story one more time and it will help you understand better, okay? Now, I'm going to ask you some comprehension questions. Please make sure you're responding in complete sentences, just like how you would do it in school, okay? After I ask the question, make sure you pause the video to think and respond. Question number 1. What important job did Thomas Jefferson have that George Washington also had some years before him?
Pause and talk.
Thomas Jefferson was the President of the United States. Question number 2. Jefferson is called the father of American architecture. What did he design? Pause and respond. He helped design Washington, D.C., he designed his home Monticello, and he designed a university, University of Virginia. It's a really good school. Question number 3. You learned that both George Washington and Thomas Jefferson are pictured on some United States money. Do you think that money is a good place to put the faces of people that we want to remember? Why or why not? Pause and respond. I personally think it's a good place because every time I take out my money, I will see the faces of the presidents.
I also asked my friend Jonathan. Let's listen to his response.
No, it isn't because it doesn't really state or mean anything towards what they've actually done.
You can have a different opinion from me. As long as you can support your answer, you're correct. Okay? Question number 4. Describe one of Thomas Jefferson's inventions.
Pause and respond.
He invented the dumbwaiter, pulley systems for doors, lap desk, and a mechanical clock. Question number 5. What is the most interesting fact you learned about Thomas Jefferson? Pause and respond. Now that we answered some comprehension questions, let's move on to our vocabulary. Today's word is anniversary. In the read aloud you heard, the second and third presidents of the United States died on the 50th anniversary of the Independence Day. Say the word anniversary. One more time. Anniversary. An anniversary is an important date that you remember on the same day every year. For example, my parents got a cake to celebrate their wedding anniversary. Think of an anniversary or a date that you or your friend remembers in some way every year on the same day. Try to use the word anniversary when you tell about it. For example, you might say, today is the second anniversary of the day we got our dog. That means you got your dog 2 years ago on the same day. Go ahead, now it's your turn. Today I celebrate the anniversary of... Pause and respond. Wait, before we go, when is the anniversary of our country's birth? It is 4th of July, Independence Day. Okay, now I think you are ready to work. Before we start, let's do a little bit of a stretch break again. If you need to go drink water, go do so. If you need to go to the bathroom, this is a good time. Okay? Now, just like yesterday, you're also going to create a caption for Thomas Jefferson. You will have to write 1 to 3 sentences about what you learned about Thomas Jefferson. Don't worry, I'm going to guide you through, okay? All you have to do is follow my directions. We'll do it together. First step. Who is this person in this picture? It is Thomas Jefferson. That's right. Now I'm going to ask you some questions about Thomas Jefferson, okay? Was Thomas Jefferson one of the founding fathers? Yes. What things did Thomas Jefferson do to serve his country?
Pause and respond.
Well, he wrote the Declaration of Independence, and he was the 3rd president. What other things did Thomas Jefferson do?
Pause and talk.
He was an inventor. He was also called the father of American architecture because he designed his home Monticello, and he helped design Washington, D.C. See? We learned a lot about Thomas Jefferson. If you were able to name at least one of the facts, you did well today. So now, let's get to work.
On a blank sheet of paper or on a note card, please write down your name and date. Then, write the title Thomas Jefferson. You are going to write 1 to 3 sentences about what you learned about Thomas Jefferson today, okay? Once you're done, please upload it onto Class Dojo. Thank you.